if we could gather together, take your seats. It's wonderful to see so many people that we haven't seen in quite some time, as well as people who were just here last meeting, too. The way this evening is going to be working is Ann Matter, who is a lifelong friend of DJ's, and I are going to be reading the speech that DJ prepared to deliver herself. And as you know, she passed away and wasn't able to do that. So we're going to be reading her words without too many side comments, I think. Then we'll tell you all the side comments when we show you the extra quilts too. So we'll be having a talk, show and tell, then we'll have a few announcements and a short break, and then we'll be sharing stories. And there's lots of food. Apparently there's this lovely chocolate cake back there. So anyway, I'm glad you're all here. So.
DJ was thrilled last year when Cindy asked her to eat the mic.
There you go.
Asked her to present. And she said, well, just so you know, sometimes things happen and I end up unavailable. So she was unavailable, but that little, A-type personality, ever the prepared nurse, wrote her talk months ahead of time, because as she said, you never know. And I gave her no end of trouble about it, but in the end, we were very happy to have it.
So Cindy, when did you ask her to do this? About a year ago?
I think it was last May.
Last
A
May.
year ago May.
Wow, yeah.
She had it written by summer.
Mhm. So all it's called is guild speech. People always ask me, where do you get your ideas? I am plagued by them. They come rushing into my mind like a new wind from a stormy day. I make lists of them to control the thoughts. I have been asked here this evening to help you see that you are a creative person. You may or may not know this right now, but if you don't believe you are creative, just open your mind to what this evening will give you. Most of what I will talk about is from a personal experience, but I have learned much from a book written by Andrea Balowski. The book is called Transitions, Unlocking the Creative Quilter Within. It is not available at quilt stores, but is available through Amazon. It was written in the early 2000s, I think. 96. I am donating one of the 2 copies I have to our library, so Carrie, make sure you get that later. I have 2 because I lose things in my messy studio. I am sure I am the only one who has done this. Andrea Balowski writes, quote, all creativity is fueled by passion. Creativity demands your personal involvement. Without it, your quilt making is just dictation, end quote. This is the first book I actually read. Others I would look at the pictures, get excited about a new pattern, but never read the book. Okay, how to be creative.
One, be aware of your environment. Look at life with fresh eyes. For example, it is spring. See the flowers, see the bees, acknowledge the misery of allergies. See the growing light over darkness. Okay, see, here are 4 ideas that have just sprung into your mind. In 1 week, take photos of all that interests you. Then look at them, organize them, and see what interests you the most. People, landscapes, architecture. What are you most drawn to at a quilt show? When you practice this exercise, you will begin a habit that will lead you to the big one, the one that will slam into your mind and demand its making. This is called Fall into Winter. right over. And I believe it was a Linda Ballard, and is a true example of DJ going, oh no, that's too small. It needs to be bigger. She said, I often walked on wet sidewalks for my job at Sonoma. You can turn it around here. Sonoma Developmental. The fall leaves had fallen and some were crushed. I took a photo. This is the quilt that came from that fall into winter.
We walked on a lot of wet leaves.
Yeah. Next, she says, I made Celtic year from an idea I had seeing a fallen oak tree with its wonderful curling roots up above the fallen tree. I took a photo. I made a circle of 13 circles, the Celtic monthly year, and interwove the roots within each circle. I quilted the 4 elements into the quilt.
There we go. The white's at the top.
And we could probably use giants.
Never forget, bigger is better. This one also included a lot of applique. There was a time when she did a lot of Celtic knots. And we have some more to show you.
It's got a few plain pieces.
Bigger is better, but hard to fold.
Next, here's a quilt I made for my son Adam that uses photos from his beach-going days. I used photos transferred onto fabric with beach-going fabric. It was fun to see how close I could come with regular fabric to match with the photo fabric. And this was up at the show, but sometimes seeing a quilt this large from a distance makes a difference.
Two, increase your tool chest. Take classes, even when you don't think it will have an effect on your current project. It may or may not, but classes will affect your quilt making for future quilts. For example, I first took a class at a Sonoma held in late winter. I was given this particular time off for vacation and had no idea what to do with it. I don't ski, I don't ice skate. She did used to surf. And a portrait class at Empty Spool Seminars was the only available quilt class available. I signed up. The rabbis say you can learn from all. So I learned how to do portraits, and these quilts celebrate my eldest son and middle son and youngest son. Do we have all three of them?
We have all three.
Yeah. So Marc, Adam, and Joel's bar mitzvahs. Here are quilts celebrating my 2 other sons all together. This is the only series I've ever done, but we're going to argue about that. But later, I still use this technique to celebrate my joy of life, of people, and of animals. So, maybe we'll leave those out. She also got inspired by famous people. So she did one about Pope Francis when he became Pope at first, and there were lots of problems, and he was being very inspirational. I photocopied the subjects Pope Francis was interested in. I was so inspired by his talk in Washington, D.C. that I just had to make this quilt. And this is a later one, and if you look closely, you will notice that maybe the technique isn't quite as good. So these are out of sequence chronologically, but they're in sequence creatively. Then we have the Wild Animal Park. And you all remember how short DJ was, right? You know, and she quilted most of her quilts.
I only ever learned to have someone quilt
Two were quilted by other people.
Yes.
Wow.
So there's so many different techniques in here.
Is that DJ Berger?
No, this is Joel from a trip to the animal park. So you see the portrait, you see the applique.
Did she put things up on like a design wall, or how did she get this all to go together?
She would sketch things out and design them. And so going through her studio, we found sketches of everything, and I just about fell over when I opened a box, and there was Joel's face looking up at me. She had made a trial. It was a little spooky. And then, we talk a little bit about her design process, which was real focused, real methodical, and then just a tornado of fabric flinging. And literally every piece of fabric she owned would be out on the floor of the studio. She riddled through, for just the perfect thing.
She definitely took to heart that if one fabric would work, 10 would be even better,
Even
and why
better, yes.
stop there? So 3, you'll love this one. Visit fabric venues. Many of the ideas I've had have come from the fresh new ideas in fabric. Recheck your own stash. Pin fabric up on a design board to further increase your ideas. I used only 3 fabrics to make the town that the Dalai Lama lives in India, Dharamsala, and there was one of thin pine trees, another of an odd geometric, which could have been houses or streetcars, and sky fabric. I think some of these we may lay out on tables that don't have people sitting at them so you can really look at them, because some of the details.
Read that again about 3 fabrics. I don't quite
Oh,
understand.
I'm sorry. It's this section, which there were 3 fabrics used, just 3, to represent cities.
I
To
thought
represent
it was
the
the whole
town.
quilt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not the
this
whole
one.
quilt.
Not the
no.
whole quilt.
No, no.
Okay.
We would have called her doctor if she only used 3 fabrics.
Might just lay that. I'll lay that.
Yeah. Okay. 4, write down your ideas. Pinpoint them so it doesn't get away. Remember how you wake up and you think, I had that idea. What the heck was I going to do? It's okay if your idea changes. Give it freedom. 5, I relieve you of your fear of mistakes. I was stuck in a car one day and saw the cover of Fons and Porter magazine. I'd seen it before, but I was bored and spent more time looking at it. What ho, a mistake. On the cover, triangle points that don't meet. On further examination, it simply was the floral print that disguised the point. Yet, had it been the imperfect point, it was still a very colorful and happy quilt. What is that saying? Only worry if the mistake can be seen off a galloping horse 50 yards away. Mistakes happen. Don't stress about them. Use the time ripping by thinking about what gives you joy. To those who point out my mistakes at a quilt show, and all of my quilts have mistakes, I say, get a life. The person we really need to be saying that to is ourselves, though, right? You know? And there's that rule, if you rip it out 3 times, leave it in because it's meant to be there. Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Don't bring attention to yourself about making a mistake. We all know how rude that can be. Okay, sometimes treating a major mistake can be dealt with a little humor. This is Escher visits the local mosque. The design really warped. Whoops.
That's like, wait, where did he go? I lost perspective and, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one. That's the point.
Next is San Francisco. I have always been in love with San Francisco. I took my sons on a tiny trip to San Francisco armed with my camera. I challenged myself to break borders. The gray rocks of Fisherman's Wharf become rocks in the Japanese tea garden. The Phantom of the Opera sings from the Palace of Fine Arts. Gumlun, the dragon of San Francisco, flies through the city with its tail becoming Lombard Street. Some borders I couldn't blend. Oh well, I don't think that was noticed.
And again, yeah, whole variety of textures.
Yeah. Again, lots of techniques from those classes that she took and things that she watched online. 6, find friends to quilt with. Have friends who encourage you to part from a quilt when it doesn't make you happy. Hey, just a learning experience, not kept as a UFO. I had a birthday within a group and needed them to find the perfect fabric for my gift, a center motif, only so big. That was hard, but they did it, and the quilt that resulted was with a little help from my friends. So those little hexagons in the center, those all came from us in our, it was the Tuesday group, wasn't it?
No, it was Bad Girls.
Bad Girls and Bad Girls.
And
Yeah.
probably to everybody.
Yeah, yeah. She put the call out for everybody.
This was a quilt where she had the idea and it simmered for quite a long time before she could gather all the fabrics.
And that's a lightweight quilt, it's not heavy.
No, none of them are heavy, they're just big.
Okay. And then this one was hanging at the show too. My dear friend Linda Morand helped me with my big, capitalized B-I-G quilt named Jerusalem of Gold. She showed me how to sketch, to draw, and then just erase what isn't needed. My friend Ann Mannern has always helped me. She organizes my fabric in my mind. And Marc, her son, says it's true.
It was way too long.
Oh, we did never unpin it from the show, yeah.
Yes.
So ta-da, you get to see the bottom of it.
And the story behind this one is that it was too long to enter in PIQF. And she had to chop, I don't know how much off the bottom. Yeah. So if you look, you'll notice that it does seem like the steps. It was at least another quilt.
Did she travel to all these places?
No, only in her mind.
Yeah. She loved to get books. One of the quilts that she's had been working on that never came to fruition was the Silk Road. And she would buy books and watch movies movies and videos and, you know, go online to find out things about the places. So hence the India, Jerusalem, even in San Francisco, she took some of that stuff from other things besides her pictures.
Any idea what year this one was?
It's right there. 97.
1997. Yes, Jim.
How many years was she quilter? Was she
40.
quilting?
40
I'm
years?
sorry?
40. We think she was quilting for 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think her first quilt was, is that for you? Yes.
hmm So she made a baby quilt like a lot of us do to get started, and
41 years.
I've always loved Psalm 8 and began to collect animals on fabric. The psalm thanks God for making man and high enough to be but a little lower than the angels. High enough to be, I'm not sure what word was supposed to be in there, but
Oh, it's God. You just don't
Oh.
spell it out. Right. Yes.
okay. I made a pattern for the wings and attached them to a prayer shawl. Then I added animals by fusible means. My friend Karen Manser gave me a great idea to put in the flying geese. And that was to get from one part of the quilt to the other. And because I was working on the block of the month from eons ago, and am planning to do one of those curvy piece, you know, flying geese borders, I said, why didn't you do that?
Wow.
This requires approximately 6 feet of fabric.
6 feet of fabric.
Well, no, I mean,
Oh,
like, in
A
the
stack, 6 feet high, yes, yes. You know, since we all benefited from the fabric sale donation that DJ's estate gave to the quilt sale, you know that she was an accomplished fabric acquirer and had been through many evolutions of her fabric stash. So to conclude, think outside your box of patterns, think of what you love, think into classes, read the transitions book or whatever else might inspire you, really see your environment and learn and laugh with your friends. Pretty simple rules for creativity. All right, we've got some really special quilts here that many of us may never have seen, going back way when. So,
I think this is one of the oldest ones that we have. And it's upside down. DJ made it for her mother and father-in-law, who were much beloved. And you can definitely date it by its colors and its style. I think it was yes, it is. It's hand quilted. If you figure there were two or three hand quilted quilts. Yeah.
yeah. So there were 2 or 3 hand quilted quilts.
But this, I think, is a good example of the fact that she used very muted and gray colors initially, and only gradually did she move to the bright side.
Well, at one point, that's all there was.
That's right. Yeah. Oh no, not if you went in her studio.
No, I mean, to buy fabric, not market it.
Oh yes, yes. I want
This is 1993. It's, what is it called? Walks in Beauty, also known as the Navajo quilt. And I don't know that I've seen it more than once. Oh my gosh. So,
DJ loved Lone Stars.
love Lone Stars. Mhm.
And you can see the beginning of her representational quilting starting here.
She wasn't just a quilter, she was an artist.
Oh, yes,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm. but she felt uncomfortable because she had no art training. So, you know,
My brother stood in front of that, and he's an artist, and he stood in front of that quilt in San Francisco, and he just was like in awe of it.
Can you repeat what's being said?
okay, so
Thank you.
her brother-in-law stood in front of the San Francisco quilt at the quilt show, and just for minutes looking at everything, it was in awe. And he's an artist, so you know, it's DJ had an approach that included basic patterns, but using fabric and then adding these artistic representational elements on top to get the story across. For a while, she was doing commission quilts for Japanese people, and they would get these incredible applique king-size quilts with all this floral applique. This is also in the 90s, before her eyesight really started to go. And, you know, she'd work on those things and finish them in 3 months.
So you'll notice here that she has used some sky fabrics. That was kind of the first foray into batik and dyed fabrics. But if you look at the rest, they're pretty much all printed.
Commercial prints. Yeah.
And that changed over time too. She learned to love batiks.
But she never became a fabric dyer. She said, I don't
Well,
have
we
time
tried
for
it
that."
once. It was okay. Thank you.
Here's another relatively old quilt. I remember this one. And I think this hung at PIQF. Or Marin, I'm not sure. Definitely Marin.
Now this fabric was much brighter, and it did fade over time because the quilt was hung, but the sky is all done in different colored strips. And the little inset. So again, this was landscape.
Wasn't that like a trip to New England or something?
Possibly. She went back east
Looks
with
like
her
it.
friend Leslie, didn't she?
Yeah, but I thought this came
before that.
Uh-huh.
This was based on a book about called Powers of Ten. If anybody remembers that, of the zooming in of looking at atoms and inside of atoms, and then zooming out and looking at galaxies.
Uh-huh.
And she was pointing out all the different pieces of the forest.
Oh.
a two-sided quilt. So maybe when the front's done, you're not done yet? You've got another quilt designed to put on the back? But not always, so.
I made Mark take this off. I made Mark take this off his dining room wall because I've always loved it. And it's you can see the windmills. It's the Pacheco Altamont.
I think it's Lompoc, the flower.
Uh-huh.
The flower beds down there, is it Lompoc or somewhere where they have the huge beds of flowers by the road down there? They probably have windmills too.
But I've always loved the way she represented the colors and the rose with the stripes. Okay. Yeah, mine.
Yes, yes. Ne-
There were over 100 quilts in her house
Not including the ones that. we
when
had.
she passed,
Yeah.
just in her house.
yeah.
Not to mention,
Meaning the boys
Yeah.
already had piles of them, so.
Karen said, "How many quilts do you think she made?" It was like,
Yeah.
She gave a lot away.
yeah.
She did, and that was one of the things I called up Maryland to find out if they had any idea. She would donate fabrics to the community quilts, and then she'd donate quilts. As she got a little less active or less sleepy or something, she would get up and spend 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night sewing. So she had her nighttime projects that she had frequently gotten all cut out and bagged, and there was the pattern, and she'd just be whirring away, you know. Yes, Marilyn?
But DJ always got mad at me when I was bragging on her. This is DJ Berger.
She didn't want to take any credit for the quilts. But she'd make big quilts for the community too, so.
So I announced this on Facebook for the SDC community, that she worked at SDC, I'm not sure how many years.
20-something.
Yeah.
20 plus
Close to
years.
25, I think.
And it was amazing how many people wrote in comments and said, you know, she gave me such and such a quote for this event or that event, and I cherish it to this day. So she gave quilts in all parts of her life.
This one is Dana's quilt, Marc's wife, and is a very good representation of, oh, she loves nesting dolls. Look, here's this nesting doll fabric. Now what am I gonna do with it? And, you know, to create something that would be special for someone, including the colors that they love. You'll also see her use of a bigger fabric around the outside to finish this, featured in a lot of her later quilts. It's like, wow, the inside's done, how am I gonna finish? Big print. Another favorite thing, feathered stars. She loved feathered stars and peace blocks. And so, this one's not,
Microphone.
sorry, this one's not even dated. It's not that old, but I like it because it has so many small pieced blocks. Teensy pieces. I love this one. Yes. I think that's, what is that called? A healthy diet. Oh, no. Old Dogs, New Tricks. I think it was called, and it was all about the healthy things that you can eat. Who was the woman who did all the patterns? Ruth McDowell.
So we had Marcia McCloskey, we've got Ruth McDowell, these are people that were very influential on her. There's some more coming up too. Okay, these are people that were influential on her. Ruth McDowell, her piecing techniques and things like that. Marcia McCloskey with the feathered stars, and then we've got some other ones coming up.
That's the real truth.
On one side, vegetables on the other.
The real side.
That's the
Oh. Gotta have bad with the good.
Okay. We'll hold that up a little. There you go, Mark. No, go down. There we go.
So this is known as a chuppah. If you're unaware of what that is, it is a traditional piece of fabric that is above the bride and groom at a Jewish wedding, and she decided to quilt one. But she decided to quilt one about 15 years before any of the boys were ready to get married.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah.
But it's lovely because it really incorporates a bunch of symbols from Jewish life. It's got Passover, it has Hanukkah, and then other things like down there's Golden Gate Bridge that's being represented. And of course your Celtic knots, and it incorporates a Jewish star. So it's just lovely. And
Did each one of you use it? Did each one of you use it in the wedding?
so I used it when I got married to my wife, and that's I don't believe Adam used it. No. So.
Do you know what it says around the Celtic knot? What's the prayer?
Oh yeah, that I once knew it, but it is a prayer for the newlyweds, and it is part of the ceremony. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's done in like a trapunto style. Yeah.
That is
Okay. Yeah. Be sure and come up and see the quilting. Yeah. Do we need the fan turned on?
No, it's just you guys are working so
Closing in
hard.
on it, people.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't think it matters.
So this quilt is my high school graduation quilt that she made. It is inspired by Escher, the tessellations, and my love of astronomy, music. Yeah, I just love this one. It's just lovely.
Oh, yeah. Who knows? She probably had enough of them.
See, it's sort of Arctic looking.
We gotta fold it the other way.
Are you a quilter?
Me?
Uh,
Adam? Or Mark?
I've done some quilts, but I don't know. I don't know if I consider myself a quilter.
You seem very knowledgeable.
Well, thank you. I'm planning on teaching my son, so that's the goal.
Your wife doesn't quilt?
I'm sorry?
Your wife doesn't quilt?
No, she doesn't.
She knits, I think, doesn't
She does knit, yeah, that's true.
she? Right here.
So the story behind this one is amazing. One of my best friends, she is, her family is from Ireland, and she's just always into doing Celtic knots, and a beautiful artist. And so she did the drawing of the dragon for me, and my mother saw this and said, I'm making that into a quilt. And she absolutely did, and went above and beyond the center. I forget what that's called, but it's the labyrinth. That was not included in the original, and then of course all this amazing Celtic knotwork on the outside was not part of the original, but it is just glorious.
She's making room.
Every table's
So here is a very, very early quilt, which you will have to come up and feel because it feels like she's got rope in the binding. Seriously, rope. You recognize the pale colors, the grade colors, but even back then, look down on the fence, the porch railings. She's appliqued pieces of this ivy print over so it looks like the plants are coming around. So she always did have a unique perspective on things,
And again, her
but
love
it's so
of,
funky.
I know.
We want to do-
Those are the ones that were on it then. So, in regard to the series, I suppose Sun 1, Sun 2, Sun 3 is a series. But as you can see, DJ would pick up, throw herself headlong into a technique or a style, and then move along, dragging the old pieces behind her into the new pieces, but always looking for new and interesting ways to express herself. These are 2 of the 4 green men, and I think, were they a challenge?
Pointless Sisters had it.
Pointless Sisters. And after she retired and spent time with the Pointless Sisters, I think she had a heck of a good time. You know, a lot of the quilts that she made were smaller and but just really she showed a lot of happiness and joy in those smaller challenge quilts. And a lot of those were hanging in the show.
Yes.
Those are only 2 of the green men. This is one of the last quilts that she made, and all out of batiks, and I think exemplifies what she said about the magazine. Oh, don't even get close to the points because they don't match up. But it's cheerful. There's a lot of color and joy in the quilts, and she quilted until the very end, like 2 weeks before she passed. So this is a good one. Yeah. These are all ones that are hanging in the show. We're talking among ourselves. We can put those out. So we do have the rest of the quilts that were hanging in the show, and we'll lay those out as well if you'd like to see them.
Yeah, so besides the other 2 people, she also got inspired by Ellie Sienkiewicz, which taught her the applique, which led into the Celtic stuff.
Oh, we don't even have any of her Jacobean stuff.
Yeah. Pat Campbell. Yeah. I mean, she'd buy all these books, and sometimes more than 1 copy of the book, and just work her way through these things and stuff. So anyway, this is what one person can do. Do not feel pressured to compete, because I don't. I can't. But, you know, I think to me the thing that I get from seeing all of this and remembering DJ is her openness to try it. Just let's go for it, you know? And most all of the time it was fun. And most all the time she turned out something worth looking at. So, you know?
Did you guys find anything that she had stuck in the back of the closet that was just something she couldn't deal with, and she just put it back there, never finished it?
Well, there were actually a number that just bit the dust. Especially in later years, she'd run up against a wall. I remember her trying to design a quilt about her father's garden, and she tried and tried, and she put it away, you know, believing that she would come back and do it again. Some things just didn't work, and she'd start them and not finish them, especially later on. But one of my favorite stories is Excalibur. Excalibur was a whole cloth quilt. Was it a king size?
Yeah.
It was a king size, whole cloth, 1 cloth. And you were supposed to do all of the hand quilting. Well, she did it in her spare time while waiting for boys to get out of school or finish soccer or, you know, on lunch break. And she hauled this king size quilt hither, thither, and yon for 2 years. At least 2 years. And one day, it was done. and she flung it out, and it looked like the cat had been at it. Yes, because all the years of oily fingers and messy cars and sticky boys, it was stained. She tried everything. Yeah. She washed it, she spot cleaned it. I think she eventually put bleach on it. And then when it had holes in it from over-vigorous attempts to clean it, she just went,
Oh my God.
and she threw it away. So, yes?
Do you know what she used as batting?
She used 80-20, Hobbs 80-20. She used whatever was commonly out there and not expensive. She was not a batting snob. No.
And they're not that thick, so I think she used batting in some.
She used batting in all of them, but it was variable. Sometimes it was cotton, but most often I think it was a cotton poly or a polyester.
Do you have, I knew DJ when I came into the guild, but I knew of her. I didn't know her background. Can Mark or somebody tell? Was she raised in San Francisco or?
No, she was actually, sorry, she was raised all over the place. Actually, her father worked for an engineering company, and they were moving all over the place, mostly in California, but ended up in Los Angeles area when she discovered her. She really wanted to study religion, and so she went to Hebrew Union College and got her master's degree there. And then when she met my father, and we were raised in San Diego, and that's when she started doing her quilting, right around the early 80s or so.
When did she become a nurse?
She went back to school to become a nurse, and graduated in 3?
Yeah,
Something like that, early 90s, from Santa Rosa Junior College, and got the job at SDC right after that. And she worked graveyard shift, night shift for many, many years before doing the regular rotations. But
You guys were raised in Santa Rosa?
we were raised here in Santa Rosa. Yeah, we moved here in the mid 80s or so, and she was always working on her quilts, and it's the funniest thing. My memories, it was just, that's what she was doing, you know. And you walked into her studio, she would be working on her quilts, and it didn't really faze me. This is just what mom does. And it wasn't until much later, many years, when I would go to visit, and there she is on her dining room table working on her quilts, and it sort of dawned on me, this is who she is. This is her life. This is her passion. And it made her happy. It really did. She lived her life through these quilts and the stories that she told through them.
She also loved to surf.
Couldn't find a picture. We looked. Yeah. So if you ever do find a picture, you gotta post it.
Surfing. In much thinner days.
To see Santa Barbara, so
Oh.
you know, and she was in high school in Southern California, so
Well, thank you.
thank you very much. We have a couple of announcements. We need Marilyn and Cindy and anybody else that has to make an announcement, and then we will break for more refreshments, and you can go through all the quilts and don't take any. But you can take my stuff, so it's okay.
No, honestly, we got a very sizable donation of fabric. We're figuring out our hands and fingers and toes and everything. And it looked like about 600 yards of fabric that was donated. Anyway, so we have, some of it has already been donated elsewhere, but there's more back there. And also, there's just one small price to pay for it. And that is, see where Donna Poe is? See, we need a block. Either yellow and blue or blue and yellow, and I have the directions, and I would love it. We want to give the person who donated this, she had passed away, we want to give her sister-in-law and brother a nice little thing to say thank you very much from the Guild. So there you go, and now you know. So see you at the break. One more thing, if you touch the fabric for too long, you have to take it. I'm just saying.
It's great, but it gets glued.
Yes, like you have to take it.
So, to announce the other programs that are coming up this summer, we have Karen Boland, who will be teaching us how to machine quilt this weekend. We have 10 openings, so please, if you're interested, sign up, come join us. It's really a non-threatening class for those of you who are afraid of doing it. So, that's the first one. The second one is in July, and it's Becky McDaniels. It's this one. And she's doing this pillow. And this is a machine applique orange peel quilt. She offers a kit for $30, so the fabric's got to be pre-washed. So that's why she's doing the kits, because it makes it a whole lot easier to have all the supplies. And it's $30. And you know, if you think about it, all of us are going to spend $30 getting fabric, or we've already spent the $30 on fabric. So I'm looking forward to it. So I'm hoping people sign up and join me in the class. I'm going to Scotland. I will be coming back 2 days before this class. So talk to Sue and sign up. Okay, so that is July 20th. And then I'm going to go ahead and start the September class, September 21st. We have Lisa McKissick coming, and she's teaching this quilt. And it's working with curves and a special ruler. So it's very sweet. So please sign up for this one if you're interested, and I'll have all 3 sign-in sheets over there on the table.
Yeah, workshops are a great value part of your dues, because we're taking classes from people for $40, and oftentimes in many other guilds they're $60 and up. So please sign up.
And I have the supply list for each of the classes, so take one if you sign up.
Hi, Carol Belge. I am a fair liaison. I'm sitting in the corner over here with the sign-up sheet. If anybody would like to demonstrate for a 2 to 3 hour session during the fair, the machines will be there. There'll be kits to sew on. I have the fair pass entry coupons with me today, so that's one less thing to hang that you have to try and connect with me on. There's every day has some slots open except for Tuesday, and I don't remember the date. I think it might be the 4th. It's August 1st through the 11th.
Slightly different dates for the fair this year.
Hi, I'm Trina Jansen. I'm teaching the basic skills class August 24th. Thank you, Elise, for nodding. It's going to be about borders and medallions and putting more borders on medallions. There's not going to be any sewing, but we want you to bring any medallions you have or quilts that need borders, and we'll kind of have discussion about it. We'll cover how to keep your quilt square, how to size your borders, how to put in combing strips, kind of just the basics. So you can sign up with Elise, and that's August 24th.
Any other announcements? Okay, Dina.
If you still have your name tag from the quilt show floating around at home, I would love to get those back so we don't have to make a new one next year. So
So turn in your name tag because she knows darn well you're not gonna remember where it is next year, right? Say, I'm wearing a G for she forgot her name tag again. All right, thank you all for coming, and we will enjoy the refreshments.